The government and all relevant stakeholders are expected to ensure reasonable accommodation and meaningful inclusion for persons in each category by addressing their specific needs. This video will explore specific cases of adaptations or advancements necessary for the meaningful inclusion of three categories: persons with disabilities with hearing impairment, persons with short stature, and persons with visual impairment. The examples will cover various topics such as the difference between non-talking lifts and talking lifts, non-talking calculators and talking calculators, the lack of sign language interpreters, and ATM accessibility for persons with short stature, among others. In their commitment to fostering innovation and flexibility, the Ministry of Labour, Gender and Social Development actively monitors and documents the daily experiences of persons with disabilities. The focus is on gaining insights into their challenges and identifying obstacles to promote meaningful inclusion. In this documentary, we highlight persons with disabilities, providing examples of the necessary modifications or meaningful inclusion. Joel Musana personifies the condition of having a shorter stature, marked by a height well below the average of his peers. Our goal in producing this video was to delve into the daily experiences of persons like Joel, shedding light on the main obstacles they face. It was during this exploration that we closely observed how Joel copes with tasks such as using the ATM machines and accessing places of convenience, among others.
You find that when you go to the bank, you want to access the ATM machine, you find that the level at which the ATM machine is placed is so high that I cannot reach, or any other little person not reach to access money through the ATM machine, whereby you will need maybe a help, and whereby that help, you don't know the person who is coming to help is a stranger, because you don't know where he's coming from, his attitudes, but he's coming to help you. So security-wise, you are not safe. Another thing is that when you decide that maybe let me use the counter, you find that the counter also, there is no way you can write, and we have mobility challenges. Standing becomes a problem, so you cannot stand to wait. So in the due course, you don't find where you can write from so that you can access money. If you take a decision to use the online banking is so expensive that it takes almost all the money. You see, when you go to the places of convenience, because these calls can happen anytime. You go there, you decide to go to maybe the toilet or the washrooms, you find that the urinals where they are placed, they are so high. Even those on which they say that maybe they are somewhere at a lower level, they cannot hold us. They are high according to our level, so they are not on the standard. So you find yourself being affected in that way.
According to statistical approximations, Uganda is home to around 600 persons belonging to this particular group, emphasizing the significance of addressing their requirements and ensuring the full enjoyment of their human rights. Beyond those with short stature, we interacted with a person with visual impairment to comprehend their obstacles and the ways in which they manage their day-to-day activities. One person we conversed with was Chiemba Stephen, and our discussion with him centered on achieving meaningful inclusion, specifically concentrating on how he navigates non-talking lifts, talking lifts, non-talking calculators, the absence of the guide, and whether he can really access them as required.
My name is Chiemba Stephen. Some of the challenges that I face as a person with disability, most buildings have lifts, but those lifts are not accessible. Accessible in a manner that they don't talk, because as a person with visual impairment, I deal with audio. So for me to easily navigate the lift, I have to press the buttons. It directs me what to do. So those lifts that talk are not available on most buildings. Then also many compounds have holes. They are full of, they have depressions. For example, if I'm moving around in most compounds, in most areas in Uganda, I have to move around with my guide. So such things make me a slave to my guide. Secondly, barriers in the world of technology. There is limited access to assistive technology. For example, as a person with vision impairment, to use a computer, that computer must be talking. So most softwares they are available on markets, but they are restricted. If I'm to install a software in my computer, I have to get someone who is trained in that, who is an expert in that software to unlock it so that I can use it. Then also, although the softwares are available, they are not cheap, they are not accessible financially, so that makes it hard for me to access the information. Then also the computers that we use as persons with visual impairment are expensive. They are not these ordinary computers, so they are not affordable. So that makes it also hard for me to use technology easily. So that limits me from accessing important information and also to participate in social and professional interactions.
The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has a responsibility of providing support and assistance to persons with disabilities. They have undertaken this task to some extent, and during our interaction with Emmanuel Yeka, the Acting Principal Information Tech at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Information Technology, he elaborated on the various types of equipment that the ministry has successfully provided to the people with disabilities.
Assistive technologies have been categorized in 3 areas, but mostly we've intervened in 2 areas. There are those that are for hearing impairments, where the person maybe cannot hear at all. So there's technology around that. I think we've seen the hearing aids, and there are vibrators, for example, an alarm. Like in the morning as you wake up, your alarm will go off and you hear, but a PWD may not hear that. So there are those that vibrate, and a person can be able to schedule themselves and plan their day with such vibrators. Then there are visual assistive technologies for those that are totally blind, someone that cannot see, and there are those who are also partially blind, and these are the most common, and there's a lot of software on the market, part of which we use here in the ministry. Number one, to help with text to speech. So for example, if you have visual issues and you cannot read your email, there's software that can read it for you and you simply listen. A lot of the software now coming out, for example, Microsoft Office comes with inbuilt assistive software or components to help especially those that have visual impairment. So for example, we have the text-to-speech software that converts text to words, so a person can actually listen to them.
Join Zoom meeting. https://zoom.us/j/936 pwd =.
For example, this is an email that has been sent, so you simply open it and you're able to listen to it. Then there's also software to help you view some of the texts more clearly, especially in terms of the magnification. So if the font size, which is standard on most laptops, is about 12-13, the visual software can help you with the magnification so that you're able to navigate around your laptop as you work easily. Then there's also keyboards for people that have issues with typing. They are the digital based ones that can allow them to easily type out or even speak to the computer and their speech is translated to text. So they can easily, for example, send an email by simply talking to the computer. It's converted, and then the email is transmitted. Then for the totally blind, of course, there's Braille. That is common technology that is used. It's not entirely an ICT software, but it helps them to get a feel of text on a surface, and they're able to read whatever message perhaps could have been communicated. So we are working very closely with the Ministry of ICT, that is responsible for information and communication technologies, and there's a digital transformation roadmap in place, and one of the pillars on innovation and entrepreneurship actively seeks out to support persons with disabilities with technology that can assist them do their work and be as productive like any other person would.
However, despite the overall smooth execution of this task facilitated by advancements in IT equipment, challenges have risen for the ministry, particularly in the realm of supply and scarcity of resources tailored for persons with disabilities. Mr. Yeka pointed out some obstacles that are hindering the seamless advancement of the project.
As a ministry in charge of persons with disabilities, we faced a number of challenges. First of all, in terms of assistive technologies, these are technologies that help or aid persons with disabilities in their day-to-day work so that they can be productive just like other normally abled persons. So one of the bigger challenges has been the cost of IT or assistive technology for persons with disability. They come at quite a high cost, the software and both the hardware. And it is also not very readily available on the market like the other IT equipment. For example, you can go to Kampala Road and buy a printer, a computer, a desktop very easily. So the vendors and suppliers for this category of assistive devices is not very readily available on the market and requires adequate planning, which should be very deliberate on not only our ministry but all employers across government and in the private sector.
We had the opportunity to converse with the State Minister for Disability Affairs overseeing matters related to people with disabilities. She emphasized that Uganda excels in legislative efforts with comprehensive laws in place. The next step involves unraveling and implementing the constitutional provisions.
My name is Asamo Helen Grace. I'm State Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development in charge of disability affairs. As far as legislation is concerned, I think Uganda tries to be almost on top of the game. One, we have the Act 2020, which Act pronounces how duty bearers can give services to people with disabilities, including what they call reasonable accommodation, to enable them be part and parcel of the development process.
The minister urged Ugandans to review persons with disabilities as capable contributors to society. She emphasized that disability can affect anyone at any time, highlighting the importance of recognizing these persons as equals. The minister called for embracing and supporting them, advocating for the removal of barriers to ensure they can enjoy life to the fullest, just like anyone else.
That people with disabilities are part of the Ugandan population. They are part and parcel of the population, and they can contribute like any other person in the population if they have been given that opportunity. If the barriers are broken, people with disabilities will contribute to the economic development of this country. So my view to the people out there, let us look at disabled people as people who can be able to do some work. And again, disability is not destined for one person. You can get disability at any age of yours. So it's not really a village that there are disabled people who have been packed here. And then now we can say, okay, that is for them. Prepare the barriers, remove them, because it might affect you today, as it might affect you in the future, as it's affecting me today. So those barriers, if removed, then we know that disability is not a very big issue in the country.
Uganda is a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Uganda recently approved the African Union Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Article 32 and 35 of the Constitution. The 2020 PWDs Act and other laws compels government to provide for affirmative action and disability inclusive. the government has made significant strides in fostering meaningful inclusion for persons with disabilities across various sectors, including politics, economics, health, education, and information and communication technology. Let's join forces and extend our support to ensure that people with disabilities can lead fulfilling lives just like any other category of the population.